Ches Shevat, January 18th, and we're now going to continue in chapter 18 of Tanya. So welcome to our guest. Welcome to our Chashuv guest. Have a good day. Good to see everyone. Zush, you're not a guest. Zush, you're part of the crew here. We asked the question yesterday. We finished off the Shiur. We left you hanging with two important questions. How did the love of Hashem become an inheritance? If we automatically have a love of Hashem inside of us, how'd that happen? It's one thing if you may have certain features that look like your parents, your grandparents. They say I look a lot like my grandfather, very similar to my grandfather. It's true. Fought in the war in the American Army, and I have certain features, look a lot like my father. My son looks a lot like me, Shalom. Some of them don't, he does. But how do you inherit love? How does that get passed down? It's a feeling. Plus, it's been a few generations, right? Number one. Also, how is fear incorporated in this passing down from generation to generation? So the explanation is as follows. We're on page 85 in the Chayenu, guys, following along in the Tanya. The explanation is as follows. The patriarchs were truly the chariot of Hashem, meaning they were completely subservient to God. They had no other will but what Hashem wanted them to do. Just as a chariot has no will of its own, but it's directed solely by the will of the rider. Don't forget, this is 220 some odd years ago. The Alter Rebbe is, or 225 years ago, maybe a little bit more. So everything is horse and buggy. You're sitting in the back of a wagon. The wagon doesn't have a mind of its own. Wherever the driver takes it, that's where it goes. So that's what a chariot does. Follows Hashem, has no personal desire, has no selfish desire. His only will is to serve God. It's interesting if you put it that way, Doc. It's like, I want to serve God. And no. That's getting complicated. Therefore, now we're getting a little esoteric on you. We're going to go into some spiritual realms, but listen, Chassidus, so you got to be prepared for something like this. Therefore, the Avos merited the privilege of drawing down, not just to themselves, but for all future generations and all descendants, the Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama from the 10 holy spheres of the 4 worlds of Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. We talked about these. We touched on them earlier in chapter 2, so we're not going to get into them, but there are 4 spiritual worlds, Atzilus being the highest world, Eitzel, closest to the Or and Sof, the eternal light, and then we have Bria, Yetzira, these are worlds of angels and other creations, and then we have Asiya in this physical world. In which of the 4 worlds from which the Sphira within these worlds does the soul originate? Where does our soul originate from? So the answer is each individual according to his level and according to his deed. So the feeling of love and fear of Hashem comes down from generation to generation. The soul comes through these different worlds. Where does the soul come from? Each one comes from a different level. At any rate, nimshach mizivugam nefesh de nefesh malchus ta'asiya. Even the unworthy and most sinful Jew, drawn down by their material union, a nefesh from the level of nefesh of malchus of asiya, the attribute of royalty in the world of action. Even the lowest person gets their soul that comes through some level and comes from some spiritual realm, which is holiness, which is godliness, even if it's one of the lower realms or lower rungs. This means to say that the union of every Jewish couple, no matter how low their spiritual level, brings forth a soul from, at the very least, the lowest level of holiness. At least we're in the game, right? Even if our neshama comes from a low level, at least we're in the game. At least we're part of the program. This lowest level of nefesh, the malchus of Asiya, that's the lowest level. Asiya is the lowest of the 4 worlds, as we just explained. And Malchus is the lowest of the spheres within each world, and so including the last world. So Malchus itself is further composed of 3 levels: Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. And Nefesh being the lowest of the 3, as it goes up, Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. What comes next? Chaya Yechida. But we're talking about the lowest 3 levels of the soul. In addition, as we've seen in the previous chapters, the soul itself consists of the 3 levels of Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. So it comes from a place of Malchus, of Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, and the soul itself also has these 3 levels of Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. Thus, one who has been given only a Nefesh, which stems from Nefesh to Malchus Asiyah, which is the lowest level that the soul could derive from the lowest place, still, nevertheless, the Alter Rebbe continues, this is, even though it's the lowest of holiness in the world of Asiyah, yet since Malchus is one of the 10 holy spheres, and since holiness is the realm of unity where every level is comprised of all the other levels, even though it's the lowest level of Asiyah, it's compounded of all the other levels in Asiyah, which is higher than it, including Chokhmah Asiyah, wisdom of the world of action, which is the highest sphere in Asiyah. So in the world of Asiyah, our world, there's the highest level and the lowest level. Chokhmah would be the highest, Malchus would be the lowest. Within Chokhmah Asiyah is clothed Chokhmah the Malchus Tatzilus, wisdom of royalty in the world of emanation. So the Alter Rebbe explains in chapter 52, way ahead of, we're in chapter 18, but in chapter 52, the Alter Rebbe explains that the sphere of Malchus Tatzilus clothes itself in and illuminates the world of Asiyah, And since Malchus, the Atzilus, contains all the spheres of Atzilus, the illumination of Asiyah by Malchus means that each sphere of Atzilus, as it is contained in Malchus, the Atzilus garbs itself in the corresponding sphere of Asiyah. Chokhmah de Malchus the Atzilus in Chokhmah de Asiyah, Bina de Malchus the Atzilus in Bina de Asiyah, and so forth and so forth. Shabeseicha, by the way, even if you don't get each nuance to what we're talking about here, just bear with us. It's like sometimes we could be a chariot and just follow the rider. You don't have to understand every single thing, but your soul definitely understands what we're discussing here. And we can. He doesn't determine. He's just saying that each person comes from a different level. So even if, he's not determining, he's saying even if your soul comes from the lowest level, you're still part of the Seder Shtalshus. You're still part of a. That's for Hashem. That's for Hashem to figure out. We don't determine that. It's like, I don't know if this is a good comparison. So let's say lahavdil. Say there's a big game. Super Bowl's coming up, right? The Super Bowl's coming up. Let's say, Adam, somebody gets you tickets, plane trip, everything, but you're going to have the highest seat in the building in the farthest away, so it's a little bit hard to see. Are you going to say, forget, I'm not going? Oh, you go, of course. It doesn't matter where you are in the stadium. You're there. And you'll be able to tell your kids and grandkids, I was at Super Bowl, whatever, number 52, I don't know, whatever. I was there and I saw, and it was they won the game at the last second with a field goal, whatever. You say, yeah, but 57. But but you sat all the way. You didn't get good. Doesn't matter. I was there. Were you there? No. Seats cost thousands of dollars. Everybody clamors to get in. It's the biggest game of the year. So lahavdil back, we could say, yeah, your neshama comes from the lowest level. Doesn't matter. I'm in the game. We're in the game, guys. Maybe we sin. Maybe we have some schmutz. Maybe we have to go through challenges, difficulties, painful experiences. But we're in the game. We are in the stadium. Hashem is, we'll be able to bask in the glory of Hashem. Hashem blesses us. We feel it. We see it. And sometimes we even not sometimes. We have to go down. Sometimes, Doc, the higher they are, the farther they fall. So sometimes if you're on the bottom rung, you're not going to fall so low because you're already down there. I just got an email this morning. Somebody said to me, I feel like I'm really down, but I know based on what we've learned that there's only one way up from here. So I feel blessed. It's a good way to look at things. If you're really down, instead of saying things are tough, things are miserable, say, okay, so now since I'm down, I can't fall any farther. I'm not, If you're up on a ladder, if you're on the first rung and you fall down, if you're on the top and you fall, it's much worse. Not to knock anybody who's up at the top. Good for you. But for the rest of us, we're on lower level. We struggle. It's painful. Hashem b'chachma yosad eretz. Sorry, eretz. V'kulam b'chachma sisa. It's written, Hashem in his wisdom founded the earth. The words Hashem in his wisdom show that the light of the Ein Sof illuminates the spirit of Chachma, while the words wisdom founded the earth indicates that Chachma is clothed in Malchus. So the highest level is really clothed in Malchus, which is called earth. Or like the earth, Malchus is the lowest level. And it is further written, in wisdom you have made them all. So Hashem, even though you think, well, I wish I came from a higher level, don't worry about it. Hashem, in his wisdom, founded the earth. It's further written that in his wisdom you made them all. The words made indicates that Chachma is enclosed in Asiya, in action, in this world. V'nimsa, ki ein sof baruch hu melubash b'chinas Chachma shebenefesh adam yeh mi sheyeh mi Yisrael. So we see that the light of Hashem is garbed in the faculty of wisdom in the human soul, of whatever sort of a Jew he is, whatever sort of Jew, the most holy practicing Jew or the most simple Jew. Furthermore, in the chapter, the Alter Rebbe explains why it is the faculty of wisdom in the soul that receives the illumination from Ein Sof. We'll get to that. Ubechinas chachma sheba im Ein Sof baruch hu hamelubash ba mispas shetes b'chol bechinas hanefesh kula lahachyoisa mibechinas roisha ad bechinas ragla. In turn, the soul's faculty of wisdom, together with the light of Ein Sof that's garbed in it, suffuses all the levels of the soul in its entirety, from head to foot, as it were. Meaning from the highest level of the soul to the lowest level of the soul, to animate them with godly vitality. As the pasuk says, wisdom gives life to those who possess it. Meaning the soul, which possesses the faculty of wisdom, receives its life by means of this faculty as stated above. And here in parentheses he says, this is very important. At times, the sinners, okay, don't think about somebody else, guys. I know it's difficult, but think of ourselves. We're not perfect. So the people of Israel that maybe feel very low and feel very dirty because of the thoughts that they have and the words that they say and the things that they do, may the sinners of Israel may even bring down for their children very lofty souls. You see sometimes two people, like their child is like brilliant. We see this in our history from anywhere from some of the Talmidei Chachamim and our sages in the Gemara. Their parents were nothing special. The flip side could also be, you could have two wonderful parents and a child that goes off, and you're wondering why. That's up to Hashem. That's not up to you. You have to do the best you can. But back to what we're saying here, sometimes we see that sinners may even bring down for their children very lofty souls, which had been in the depths of the klipos, as explained in Sefer Gilgulim. Gilgulim means a Gilgul when the neshama comes down. It's unbelievable. Deep stuff here. So the takeaway is, Chavra, we're still in the middle of chapter 18. We'll continue tomorrow. That there's no such thing as a Jew, even one. There's a pause, not the end of a sentence. There's no such thing as a Jew, even one who can be termed as Kal Shabakalim, unworthy and lowest of low, who does not have a spark within, in which the infinite God radiates. Meaning, every single Jew, no matter how bad he's acting, no matter how filthy he talks, and no matter how abhorrent his actions may be, has a spark of Hashem that's waiting to be ignited and to light up. Last night we said it, we shared it Dvar Torah, that the first carbon that Hashem commanded the Jewish people to take that sheep, the first mitzvah, when they were in Mitzrayim itself, to take the sheep tied to the bedpost on the 10th of the month of Nisan and to sacrifice it on the 14th and sprinkle the blood on their brush the blood on their doorposts, to take that sheep and roast it over the fire and consume it and eat it from the head to the feet and the innards. But it must be completely roasted. It can't be half-baked and it cannot be submerged. It can't be boiled in water. Why? Because water represents, even though it could be boiled, but it represents a coldness. Fire, that and the head and the feet represent. The head is representing our Torah learning, our intellect that ingests and understands Torah. Our feet represent action that bring us to do a mitzvah. As it goes, that's what feet are primarily there to bring you somewhere, to bring you to a mitzvah. And the innards represent tefillah, davening and pouring out our heart and soul to Hashem. And what do we have to do with that? We have to roast it over an open flame. We have to have the flame, the fiery burning, the warmth of Hashem has to be a part of us. And it is a part of us. And so no matter how far we've fallen, and sometimes we don't fall that far because we started on a low level. So let's use that to our advantage. But no matter how far we are still blessed by Hashem. We still have the light of Hashem. All we have to do is tap into that neshama, light it up, and bring out the holiness of God that's already in there. And this is as we're answering the question of where does this inheritance come from to love and fear of Hashem. So it's all in there. We just have to bring it out. And don't forget, Chevra, we're in the game no matter what. Hashem knows, and the rest of the world also knows and understands. And Mirza Hashem will be able to fulfill our God-given mission with love and with awe and with fear and with everything that we have to do. We ask Hashem for a little bit of help, but we have to do our part. So let's go get him. Have a wonderful day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.